Today we are discussing 8 must-know validation freelancing tips. Today's guest is Weronika, a leading associate consultant in a managed service provider at Proclinical. Proclinical has expertise in contract recruitment with emphasis on the scientific and non-clinical area. Weronika wrote an article, Why You Should Consider Scientific Contract Roles Early in Your Life Science Career. ValidEire has asked 8 questions to Weronika, which ValidEire believes are validation freelancing tips you must know. Enjoy. Weronika.
Hello, how are you doing, Lawrence?
I'm very good. And thanks for taking your time to have an interview with me here. I've given a quick intro before this. You haven't seen it, but I've given it very few short words. So I've given an intro to you, basically about how I read the article and I had to contact you, and you said yes to having this interview. So then maybe you can just start with telling a small bit about yourself, and then we can go on to the actual the questions I have prepared for you.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm currently an associate consultant with Proclinical London. We are a company that partners with globally operating pharmaceutical, biotechnology, CRO and medtech companies. And myself, I'm specialized in the contract recruitment. Our business operates across 10 functional areas, from clinical research to biometrics, validation, and other areas. And we have offices across many global locations, including London, Basel, Singapore, Shanghai, San Francisco, New York, Philadelphia, and we have plans this year to open a new office in Munich.
Okay, perfect. Okay. You mentioned contracting is becoming a major employment trend across the industry. When did this start, and is it very evident in the validation sector within pharma and medical devices?
So I think it's very important in the beginning to kind of state that contracting itself became more and more prevalent due to socioeconomic changes, where people are more mobile, they are more prone to change the places that they live. Therefore, they're more happy to kind of, work for a wider palette of projects and companies during their career. And validation and more also with clinical research are two main areas in the pharmaceutical industry where contracting is the most prevalent, which is mostly determined by the fact that validation, quality assurance, quality control specialists, they work mostly on contract basis, on project basis. So they go to one company, they validate a specific system, and they're happy to go to a different assignment. So for the last 20 years, we can say that this trend is increasing. For example, in 2016, our company had 116 perm jobs in validation with 196 contract positions. In 2017, this figure grew. Perm positions over 200 and contract 363 positions that we work on. And so far in 2018, we had almost 100 jobs on perm market for validation, but we had almost 150 on a contract basis, and we genuinely think that this trend will continue to increase.
Okay, it's fantastic to hear. It's really positive for what I'm seeing and what I'm realizing in my career now, being here a year now, working in this kind of area. The next question, you mentioned a lot about flexibility, and it lies within taking the time off or taking projects to work back to back in projects. What is the preferred?
So I would say it really depends on the vertical, the functional area. In areas such as clinical research, contractors are more likely to change contracts due to the ability to, let's say, have experience in new therapeutic areas. Whereas in the preclinical sphere, in the scientific jobs, it may depend more on the availability, whether the job is available on perm or contract basis. Whereas individuals in validation, here we can also state that some prefer contract due to the potential to have a short break. But as a specialistic company in recruitment, we recommend this break to be no more than 1 month, because that may be detrimental to the the whole, I would say, CV structure.
Yeah, I understand. I prefer to take mine now and again, not wait too long. How do companies decide on employing a contractor? Is it a very different process to a normal academic job where you go to 2 or 3 interviews, you have personality test, you have all these kind of things, and it takes normally up to 2 months, my experience.
Well, yes, undeniably, the recruitment for contract is much easier. The process is very simplified. It's much quicker. Many companies employ one-stage process. One of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world that is a client of us. They conduct the employment process, which includes usually half an hour telephone conversation, and they're happy to release an offer. And there is a massive difference compared to perm recruitment or academic admissions, where usually recruitment is multi-stage. It may include HR interview, assessment center, presentation, and many other, I would say to a specific extent, stressful steps for a candidate. Therefore, I would say contract recruitment is very simplified, and it's also a good option to consider for people who kind of have this stressful response to the recruitment process.
Don't like this. Yeah.
Yes.
There's many people who have this, isn't there? That they kind of build themselves up and they get very nervous, sweaty hands, and that kind of effect.
Yeah.
What are the different types of projects happening in Europe now? Could you name any big ones happening that would be relevant for people looking at contracting?
So again, it depends on a vertical. In some areas, such as validation, for example, our company has recently worked on remediation process in South Europe, but in other areas, such as, let's say, scientific area, there's a lot of research going on into immunotherapeutics, such as monoclonal antibodies, CAR-Ts. In bioengineering, for example, a big thing that's going on is, for example, development of real-time diagnostics, including, let's say, liquid biopsy. So as I said, it really depends on a specific area that you are looking for. So definitely there's a lot of, projects going on that are looking for a lot of contractors. So I believe it's a good area to consider.
Yeah, so you can be pretty mobile. You don't have to just
exactly.
look in one place. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing maybe which I can say is nowadays it's a lot going on with MDR, the medical devices regulations. So companies usually have those short-term needs for contractors to kind of comply with the whole process.
Yeah, it's gone very quickly, that change for a lot of companies that are affected by that. How does the next 5 years look for considering pharmaceutical growth?
For sure, we have aging population, so we need money. We have more need for new drugs, for new interventions. So the whole market, pharma market, will be growing. Medical technology, for example, itself is expected to grow 500 billion by 2020 in the USA. There's more need for validation people, for statisticians, for clinical research associate, for commercial people to kind of, produce the whole marketing strategies around the products. So along with this need, there will be more need to for us, Proclinical, and for our competitors to, find more skilled experts to join the industry. Specifically, maybe, it's hard to say what types of projects may be, becoming more prevalent in the next 5 years. In validation or quality control, I may say one area which will probably boom will be the microbiology for antibiotic resistance. So it's one of areas, for example, that we can kind of anticipate to hopefully grow for the need of humanity.
You just see because the money is being poured into research at the moment. Is that why?
Yeah, so I think this is one of the areas in, let's say, validation, QA/QC. microbiology specifically, that we can anticipate to grow. And what we can also anticipate, I believe, where we have, good place of pharma and biotechs in the industry, CROs and CMOs probably will have the more substantial part of the whole life science sector.
It's and
they will be growing,
Yeah, because it's a buffer, and the pharma can't compete with the demand, from what I can see too. Yeah. Contracting simplified section. You have a section here. You have a nice flow diagram. Is it not more complex than this, moving over borders?
Specifically within the European Union, it is, I would say, fairly the same. The only difference is Switzerland, when usually freelancers, they are not necessarily having the possibility to select the setup of a limited company, which is dictated by the fact that we prefer to have them on the umbrella company in order to have more control over them complying with the taxation law, which is very important. But most countries like the UK, Germany, Poland, France, you will have the possibility to select either your own limited entity or go via umbrella company that will solve all the issues associated with being a contractor.
Okay. Can you, thanks for your answer. Can you give an example of a contractor rate in Ireland or England? What are we looking at there for people interested in coming up in this area?
In validation specifically, it may be anything in the region of 40 to 50 pounds. Considering other verticals in biometrics, it may be around 55 pounds per hour, whereas in pharmacovigilance, maybe in the region of 30 pounds. Clinical research will pay approximately 40 pounds per hour, and the preclinical scientific area, here you should be looking at around 20-25 pounds per hour. But I would say it's very general, and obviously it depends on how experienced individual is. And whether we are talking about big pharma or a small biotech, because that may also make an impact on the rate.
Budget, and how much kind of spend they have for projects, and how long, that kind of thing.
Maybe for validation, the widest range that I would give probably around 40 to 60 is let's say a wide,
That's kind of the widest bottom,
scale.
Yeah, okay. What are the disadvantages of working as a contractor? This article is very positive, and that's what I really liked about it. But a lot of people, when I tell them I'm a contractor, they say, "Oh, is it not very unstable? Does it suit everybody?" I mean, that's the question I'd like to ask you.
Originally, contracting has been a domain of very experienced, let's say, expert professionals in the areas. Nowadays, you can be contractor even as a second job. I believe, in my opinion, and with my experience with candidates, that contracting is probably the best option for early career stage professionals, where they're more free to relocate. Usually they don't have many private commitments. And I also believe that contracting is a very good option for well-experienced professionals who are genuine experts, as I mentioned earlier, in their area, and can come share the knowledge and progress to another project or a contract. Potentially one disadvantage is that you need to probably understand how the whole process of contracting works. So setting up a limited company, going by umbrella. But I believe nowadays a company such as Proclinical would genuinely facilitate the whole process. And we take step by step and try to make it simple. And I believe it's worth considering contracting due to the fact that there will be more and more contracts available in this industry, as depicted by the figures that I discussed earlier in our conversation.
Yeah, it's a general way of the world too. People are going more and more out into taking paying as you go and online kind of services, contracting is what I see too is the way forward, especially in production industry.
Yeah.
Projects are starting.
One thing maybe which I can add is, interestingly, when we had recession in the UK around 10 years ago, contractors were more stable and more relied on compared to perm employees who were, in many companies, made redundant. So it's another thing to consider, and there's only benefits, you can go through various projects, various therapeutic areas, various techniques, instrumentations. As a contractor, let's say 1 year you work in a very small startup biotech, another time you go to gigantic pharma. So your CV in 5-10 years can look extraordinary compared to, let's say, spending 5 or 10 years just in one company on a one term contract.
That can be very daily afterhand, and you become a kind of legacy employee. But I mean, that suits some people, but contracting definitely for me, that's the way forward. And validation will always be part of my future, I know. I thank you very much for the interview. I think I'll leave it there. So do you have anything else to add?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching the video. So anyone who considers contracting, we are happy to discuss it. We'll hear all the consultants in Proclinical London. We have a great knowledge about how it works, and we are always helpful to assist and explain the whole process. And to our knowledge, we genuinely believe that is the option for career worth considering, and professionals shouldn't be deceived by some, let's say, stereotypes associated with this model of employment. Thank you very much, Lawrence.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for watching today. Subscribe to ValidEire's YouTube channel for more. Bye-bye.